Hello and welcome back to my FPL channel. I'm FPL D Unit and today you're here for Game Week 29, blank Game Week 29 top transfer tips. Yes, I'll be covering all the top transferred in players, all the top transferred out players. And if you haven't already seen, if you are free hitting off your wild carding, check out my video from yesterday. Please smash a like on the video. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers as well. I can only do that with your help, so please feel free to smash the subscribe button right now. And without further ado, let's jump into it. So the best place to start, as always, is the fixture difficulty rating for Game Week 29. And yes, this week, in fact, I would actually argue that realistically speaking, the majority of engaged FPL managers at the moment are going to be wildcarding in either Game Week 30, Game Week 31, or they'll be leaving it till even further into the season, like 34, 35, something like that. Which means that you are really interested in the next two games, maybe even one if you're going to wildcard in 30. And look, that means you have to be focusing on the teams on the right-hand side here. Nottingham Forest, look at that run. Lots of green, lots of grey, looks amazing. Manchester United have an amazing fixture this week against Leicester away. Then I would actually argue that their next two fixtures actually up to 32 is actually not too bad. Like Man City at home screams Bruno Fernandes, goal, win. Honestly, it does. Nottingham Forest away as well. I feel like potentially they could get a goal. Defensively, no. Newcastle United, as you can see there, are really good, but they are sells because of the blank this week, as are Aston Villa assets, as are Liverpool assets, and we'll get into Liverpool a little bit later on. But for me, it is the Liverpool fire sale, well and truly up and about. And my mate, we're going to talk about him a little bit later on, but he's definitely in the sell category now. And everyone that knows my mate will know that I'm talking about one, Trent Alexander-Arnold. But having said that, the other team you do have to be aware of as well is Crystal Palace. It'll be more pertinent when we get into my actual transfer plans for this week. I'm still very unsure. I've obviously been burnt by the fact that Sells was risen in price to 5.1. And the other player I was really interested in is Haaland Gibbs-White. Somehow he has not risen yet, but I'm expecting he'll probably rise tomorrow after this video goes out and everyone realizes that he's one of the players that I'm interested in. But before we go into the top transferred in and out players, we have to go to the assistant managers with table bonus in Game Week 29. And it's slim pickings this weekend, man. I'm telling you. Kieran McKenna versus Nottingham Forest. Everyone's sitting there thinking, Chris Wood, captaincy shout. Can Ipswich really get anything at home against Nottingham Forest? I actually think that this game is a lot closer than what people were expecting it to be. I don't expect Forest to go there and obliterate Ipswich. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a lot closer. Maybe there's only a goal in it. Maybe two. Maybe Nottingham Forest turn it on. But remember, in the FA Cup, Nottingham Forest had to go all that distance against Ipswich. Nothing to say that won't happen again here in the league. Then, myself, Ruud van Nistelrooy, standing to attention. Can he do a job over Man United at home with Leicester? That is the key question. We'll know a lot more about potentially what the chances of that are post the Europa League game tonight with Man United. If they're on a flat because of the fact they've lost, potentially Ruud's actually a really good shout. But realistically, I wouldn't be recommending anyone play their assistant manager in Game Week 29. And I don't think I'd be picking either of these managers. I think I'd just be playing it safe because I just can't see. And I love the table bonus, and I think that is definitely king. But on a week like this week, where these are the only two options, it doesn't feel good to be playing your assistant manager chip this week. So on to the top transferred in and out players of the week. And we're going to start on the left this week, and we're going to talk about my man, Bruno Fernandes. What a man. He is single-handedly carrying Manchester United into the Premier League next season because without him, we'd be 17th. I actually counted out all the goals and assists and stuff he had. We would be 17th. We would be one place above the relegation zone. That is how bad we are. That is how good Bruno Fernandes is. And yes, he has gone from 9.7 ownership all the way up to 14.5 as of time of recording this video. 271 1,000 transfers in, all I can say is I'm a very happy owner. And for once, and hopefully he doesn't get injured in the Europa League because that would be an absolute disaster. But it is a fantastic move and I love this one. The second one as well, he is definitely the best forward to buy this week, is one Chris Wood, the Woody Woodpecker. He's now selected by almost 50% of teams. I can't believe this. At the start of the season when I said that Chris Wood is the shout that I'm going with my forward line instead of Munoz and these other forwards, I never expected Chris Wood to have the season, the GOAT season that he's having. Unbelievably good. Clivett, I'm glad I made the decision to buy him instead of Semenyo and Dango a couple of weeks back. He's been fantastic for my team, and I can understand why lots of people, potentially even pivoting off their own Bournemouth midfielders to get Clivett in. His ownership, again, is going up. And this is always increasing my team value. It's lovely. Aina, this move I don't understand. I don't think Aina is the best Nottingham Forest defender, and I don't think he's worth 5.3, and I don't think he's worth 0.5 million more than Milinkovic, who's down there in 15th place, 16th place. How is Milinkovic 16th and Aina is 4th? That makes no sense to me at all. They've scored 109 points compared to Aina's 121, so there's 12 points difference. And Milinkovic has safely outscored Aina the last, 6 or 7 weeks. I don't understand it myself. I even think Nico Williams should be on this list. I think that he's a far better defender to buy this week than Guaviol, than even Nate Nori. I just don't understand. I feel like some people are getting a bit carried away. How Kukurea makes this list is beyond me. He's had 2 great weeks, 2 great goals. He's not keeping a clean sheet this week. He may get a goal, but I can't see him getting a goal against Arsenal. It makes no sense why people are buying him. On to Gibbs-White. I think Gibbs-White's a great buy. I'm surprised that Hudson-Odoi is actually 20th on this list and Alanga is not. I think Alanga is a better pick than Hudson-Odoi. And I don't think there's a hell of a lot between Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi and Alanga, but if I was buying and I could afford it, I would definitely be buying Gibbs-White over the other two. He's just more consistent. If you have a look at his returns, even though the data for all these 3 attackers is not the best, Gibbs-White continuously ticks over. I think he gets literally a return once every 2 weeks, sometimes even more. That's exactly what you want for that kind of a price. Erling Haaland, I understand why people are doing it because Cole Palmer's been absolutely turgid, but I'm not sure that I'm 100% on the Haaland bandwagon. I just don't know if it's worth the investment. And if I decide to bring my wild card a week earlier forward, I could easily bring him in next game week and just forego the Brighton game. I can't see them smashing Brighton. That is my honest answer. I can't see the Man City team that we're seeing the form at the moment smashing Brighton. Maybe they do. I just don't see it myself. João Pedro, I understand why people are bringing him back in because he's got 3 good weeks of returns, but in reality, Man City is not a fixture I would necessarily be targeting. Maybe I'm missing something there. Kirkis is great. I've got him in my team. Great buy. Guaviol, I've looked at it. 5.9 million though, with the main Man City defend. Yes, the defensive data is actually pretty good. We'll have a look at that in a little bit later on in terms of best defenders to buy. He is a good defender to buy. I just always get put off by players that are over 5.1 million. It just doesn't feel good when you can get so many good defenders like Kirk has. 5.1 offers pretty much the same sort of a thing. Wissa, I don't know if this is a good buy. I've got Wissa in my team and we'll talk about him later. He is in the firing line. I just don't know about Wissa. I'm really not convinced there. Last week was very disappointing for Wissa and Mbeumo, so I'm unsure why people are bringing them in because they were disappointing against Aston Villa, and I have Bournemouth as a better team than Aston Villa at the moment, and they're going away from home. Maybe they think that the away form's picked up and it's better than the home form now. I just feel like Brentford could be a team that's very close to being on the bench or being on the beach. Nori, good buy. I bought him last week. Disappointing he didn't return, but it is our Southampton fixture. If you're going to target anyone, it's probably Nori at the moment. Valentin is a great pick. He doesn't make my top 6 forwards to buy, though. He comes in at number 7. I'm just concerned about the minutes still. I'm concerned that potentially he's still coming back from injury. Maybe he gets an early sub. Maybe he gets rotated with Dango. No one really knows until we see a run of starts in a row. For me, if he starts again this week, he'll be 100% in the top 6 buys next week. But at the moment, I just can't back it in at the moment. Sells, great goalkeeper. If you've got Alisson Becker, like me, or Martinez, or anyone else, he is a great buy for this particular game week. Bowen, I've said all along that he's a player that I really like the look of. If I had multiple transfers, I've been getting rid of Mbeumo for Jared Bowen. I think Bowen's fantastic. Marmoush, don't understand it. either pay up for Haaland or look elsewhere. Milenkovic, as I said, the best. He's actually my best defender to buy this week. He's unbelievably good. I can't believe he's this far down on the list. Munoz, I understand as well. Munoz is actually a player I'm looking to buy, even though he's blanking this week, so I don't have to make the transfer next week. I understand that for that reason. In terms of the transferred players out, Hall makes sense. Done for the season. Palmer, we're going to come back to Palmer at the end. Isak, I understand lots of people moving to Haaland from Isak, potentially on free hit drafts and stuff like this. Cunha, again, that makes a lot of sense. Suspended for the foreseeable future. He needs to go. Morgan Rogers has been underperforming. He's been very disappointing. Again, he can go. Mo Salah, unless you're on free hit, maybe all these transfers out are people on their free hits. There's about 200,000 active. That would make sense that Mo Salah's there. But if you're selling Mo Salah to fund Erling Haaland, I think you've lost the plot. That's all I'm going to say. You've lost the plot. Alexander-Arnold, he is firmly on the chopping block. He is definitely a good sell. Mateta, ditto for this week. Most people don't have much value tied up in him, so it's an easy sell out. Field someone else, bring him back for the doubles. Gakpo, what an absolute troll he has been to anyone that picked him up post the Ipswich game. I feel very sorry for you. It's time to say good riddance and never again. Anthony Gordon, again, he's suspended. He has to be sold. Watkins, ditto. Most people, in fact, no one will have value tied when he hasn't risen or dropped. So that's an easy sell for this particular week. Luis Diaz, ditto. Just disappointing, underwhelming. Liverpool, I think, going to go off the boil a bit here as well. And potentially, that's a conversation down the line for Mo Salah, but at the moment, I'm not sure. Virgil van Dijk, again, ditto. Too much money in the defence. He needs to go. He's done nothing. Rashford, again, no fixture this week. He can go. Munoz, understand if he's on free hit, but you should be keeping if you're not on free hit. He's got a way better fixture next week than anyone else with that Southampton game. Expect him to get involved in the points, and that's why I'm so interested in him. Marmoush is not immune to Pep Roulette. Unlucky. Probably might get benched at the end. Who really knows? Slobozlai, ditto, not playing this week. Robinson doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. I think that fixture with Tottenham screams potential for either an attacking return or a defensive return or both on a mega haul. So for me, I wouldn't be selling him. He's definitely staying in my team, and at the moment he is starting in my lineup as well. Kulusevski, out injured, no good. And Kanade, yes, he's cheap, but again, he plays for Liverpool. He's got a blank fixture. It's time to go. So, my best buys and sells for defenders this week. So we'll start with the buyers. Milenkovic is definitely the top pick here. All we have to do is look at the stat at the bottom that says expected goals conceded 1.22. He is elite. Absolutely elite. And he offers 0.15 expected goal involvement per game. It doesn't get any better than that at that price, except potentially in number 6, Nico Williams. The only reason why he's 6 and not higher is because I'm not convinced that he's 100% nailed in that position. But if he is, he's just an absolute bargain. 4.4 million, 0.13 expected goal involvement, 1.2 when he's on the field in terms of expected goals conceded. And Nottingham Forest have Ipswich away, Man United at home, Aston Villa away. Aston Villa are going to be in the Champions League, so they're probably going to have 2 eyes on that and none on Nottingham Forest. So I'm expecting 3 really good weeks here for the Forest boys, and it's easily foreseeable that you can double up on them. 8 Nori again, disappointing last week, only with the 2 points, but 0.14 expected goal involvement, 1.65 expected goals conceded. Southampton away, West Ham at home, Ipswich away. There is no better run of fixtures over the next 3 weeks for any team in the league. That is why he's number 2 on the list. Guardiol comes in at number 3 because of his attacking threat. 0.25 expected goal involvement per 90 is fantastic for a player that is under 6 million. If he was 6 million above, he probably wouldn't make the list. And Man City's defense has been getting better. 1.27 expected goals conceded per 90 now. Brighton at home, I'm not sure they'll keep a clean sheet. Maybe he can get an attacking return. But Leicester at home screams clean sheet and goals. And then Manchester United away, you never know what you're going to get in a Manchester derby. So that one doesn't look so good. So there's only really 1 and 3. Wan-Bissaka, again, he beats Kirkes out here because of the fact he costs 0.6 million less. 0.12 expected goal involvement per 90, 1.68 expected goals conceded per 90. Everton away, pretty good chance of getting a half decent return there. Wolves away, ditto. Bournemouth at home, probably not. Kirkes, what's not to love about Bournemouth at the moment, man? Look at that fixture ticker underneath. Brentford at home, Ipswich at home, West Ham United away. There's probably at least 2 clean sheets in the next 3 there. Potentially some attacking returns as well. His eye test, when you watch Kirkes play, he's a way better player than what these stats suggest, especially from an attacking perspective. His ability to whack a cross in on his left foot is about as good as my ability to whack a cross in on my left foot. And if anyone's seen me crack a cross on my left foot, you'll know I'm pretty Beckham-esque with it. But yeah, he's great asset. I'm glad I have him, Aitnori, and Milenkovic on my team. 3 of the top 6 defenders to buy this week I already own, so I'm pretty happy with that. In terms of defender sells, it's all, he has to go. Lots of people still selling him by the bucket load, and he's done for the season. Don't even have to get into the fixtures. He's just done. Then it's 3 Liverpool players in a row. All of our fixtures this week, I think they're going to wrap up the league. And for me, Trent obviously went off injured in the Champions League as well. Their defensive data is elite, right? It is the best in the league this season. 0.75 expected goals conceded per 90 for Trent, 0.83 for Canate, 0.87 for Van Dijk. But they've been giving up stupid goals. Van Dijk and Alisson combined for just an absolute mare the other day in what should have been a shutout against Southampton. And I think 7.5 million is just, as I've said all the time I've owned him, it's not worth it. It's actually not worth paying that much for a defender this season when there's just been so few clean sheets, unless they've been Forest defenders. And again, Forest defenders, the max one is Aina on 5.3, 5.4. Why would you spend 7.5? So for me, he's 100% sell. It's just a matter of if he gets sold this week or next. He's definitely going from the D units team. Canate, Virgil, ditto. I just think you need to start moving off Liverpool in general, outside of Salah, which is why they're all there. No fixture this week makes it a nice point in the season to drop off. Konza and Dean, people will say, yes, Aston Villa are almost 100% certain to double in 33, but I think you just bring these assets back in on wildcard if you want them in on a wildcard. I just don't like the fixtures for Aston Villa up until when they're going to be doubling pretty much. And the fact that they're still in the Champions League makes me think that they're going to be disappointing assets to own, and that's not something I'm interested in having in my team. I haven't had many, other than Rodgers and Watkins, who I've got rid of, I think the last one on wildcard, I haven't owned any Villa assets all season, and I don't think that's likely to change prior to the double game week. So, the best buys and sells, this is how I've got them ranked. Bruno Fernandes is the number 1 player to buy in the game this week for me. He just continues to deliver points. 29 points in his last 3 weeks. He's got Leicester away, which screams points. Nottingham Forest away also doesn't scare me too much. And Manchester City at home doesn't scare me too much. If you want to hold him the next couple of weeks, you don't have to be worrying about getting him out of your teams. I think he's perfectly fine. Jared Bowen still is at number 2. I think he's fantastic. Yes, I've got his price wrong. He has risen to 7.5. That I was looking at this slide before, and I was like, I've got everything right. I've got everything right for once, but I didn't. I cocked it up. I got 7.4 million instead of 7.5. My apologies, everyone. But Jared Bowen's still fantastic. Everything else is correct about this graphic. But yeah, he's great. Gibbs-White comes in at number 3. 6.5 million, though, you have to pay for him. Nottingham Forest fixture run is amazing. And that Ipswich fixture in 29, that is what is like, that's the buy-in fixture, where you get an immediate return, bang for your buck. I just think that he's great. Then it's a toss-up between the next few. So, Savinho, no one is talking about. He made the differentials video on Tuesday, 6.2 million. As you can see there, compared to Phil Foden, who's next door to him, 9.2 million. You're paying 3 million less for someone that actually has 0.01 less expected goals, but 0.04 more expected assists. Neither of them are on penalties. Savinho started the last 5. Foden obviously got benched against Spurs, I think, 2 game weeks ago, but otherwise has started every game since game week 15. I think they're both great assets, and I think they both start for the next 3 weeks. And if that's the case, I think that they're both going to return. And honestly, I'm eyeing them up. I'm honestly eyeing them up. And I think they'll be great. So yeah, look, I've got Savinho in front. Savinho is definitely someone I'm actively thinking about between him and Gibbs-White in terms of coming into my team this week, and we'll talk about who that's for a little bit later. And Kluivert comes in at number 6. Now, the reason why he comes in at number 6 is because every man and his dog is buying him, and that kind of makes him less appealing, but the fixture run is amazing, and if you want a Bournemouth midfielder, he's definitely the one to own. He's on penalties. His minutes have been pretty good of late. He even played close to, I think he played 90 minutes or very close to it on the weekend as well. He's just great. Brentford at home, Ipswich at home, West Ham away, screams points to me. In terms of the sells though, it's Anthony Gordon. He's still suspended post this game week as well. He's suspended for that Brentford game. Then potentially you want him back for 31. But he's got to be sold still. He's suspended. He's no good. He's missing too many weeks in your team. He's definitely a sell. Luis Diaz is just a troll. Liverpool are trolls, and he needs to go. See you later. 7.5 mil. Put that on someone above. Much better off bet. Rogers has been disappointing in the league. He's been absolutely fantastic all season. He's just been exceptionally unlucky by his offside calls of late. But again, he is a sell. He hasn't got a fixture. And again, I don't really like the run of fixtures that Aston Villa have until they're potentially likely to double in game week 33. For Eze, this one's a little bit more difficult. Yes, you're selling, but most people are going to be owning Mo Salah, and you can only probably afford to sell one midfielder. And if you've got Eze, he's a sell because you're keeping Salah all day long. You're not losing that team value. So for me, Eze is the sell here. Again, his data's not too bad. The Southampton fixture away, maybe you just sell him, bring him back in on wildcard next week or whatever. That's what I'd be recommending. In terms of Odango, Evangelisson doesn't make the forwards list because Odango is potentially there to take minutes off him, and that is the reason why he comes in at number 5. Yes, he has a fixture, but most people are expecting he's going to be starting on the bench yet again, and that is not good for Fantasy Premier League. So he probably and should be a sell to Kluivert. It's just unfortunate that Kluivert's now well above 1 million more than him. Not ideal for anyone that's buying now. And that brings us on to Cole Palmer. Now, Cole Palmer, if you watch the preview video on Monday, Cole Palmer, the last 7 weeks, has scored 18 points. That is not good enough for a bloke that has now dropped down to 10.9 million. Like, he's dropped significantly over the last few weeks. The form has absolutely nosedived off a cliff. His expected data, though, hasn't actually dived off a cliff. He's just been massively underperforming. Like, he had 4.21, I think I had on the thing that he's racked up over the last 7 weeks, and he's delivered 1 assist off that. Like, he's massively underperformed. We've never seen this kind of underperformance from Cole Palmer before. And his numbers for the season are still really good. 0.54 expected goals per 90, 0.28 expected assists per 90. He should be returning twice every 3 games. Like, that's how good he is based on the data alone. He just hasn't been performing. Is this the week he turns it around against Arsenal? I don't think it is. And then Tottenham is probably the week in game week 30 where potentially he could. And then it's Brentford away. Those 2 weeks scream a lot more potential. But the fact that he's now also playing in Europe, potentially he does really well tonight. If he scores tonight in the Conference League, I might be more tempted to not sell him and not bring in Erling Haaland. But at the moment, Cole Palmer sneaks in as the 6th best midfielder to sell this week for me. And that brings us on to the forward buys and sells. Now, there is no room for Evangelisson. I just want to say that he is exceptionally unlucky. You might have him higher on your list. I have him at number 7 just because of the fact that he is still coming off that injury, and I'm not convinced, 100% convinced he's going to start and how many minutes he's going to play. Whereas I feel like all the forwards I picked this week are going to be starting and for substantial periods of time. So let's start with the best forward to buy. And it's not Haaland. It's Chris the Woody Woodpecker who's going to get some wood. Against Ipswich, man, could he get another hat-trick? I don't know. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking and he actually blanks. I still think he is the best forward to buy. If you look at Forest's fixture run from now through to the game week 38, other than game week 38 where I think it's Chelsea or something like that, Nottingham Forest assets just have an amazing run of fixtures. They've got no more Liverpool, no more Arsenal. They've got no more Man City. They've got no hard teams left, really. They should be a shoo-in for top 4, and Chris Wood's going to be the man that leads them there, and I think you just need to jump on board. If you've been not there for all that part this season, now's the time to suck it up, admit you got it wrong, bring in the Woody Woodpecker. Haaland, he's a good buy. His data is there, but he just costs an absolute fortune, and that's why I don't know if I can be bothered bringing him into my team. Maybe if I was on wildcard, I might, because it means I have to make a bunch of transfers in order to facilitate it because I don't just have 6 million lying around in the bank. But he is a good buy. He should be a good captaincy choice, particularly in game week 30. Wissa comes in at number 3. I own him. Him and Mbeumo were very disappointing last week, but I still think in a one-off fixture against Bournemouth, with the kind of attacking data he has, 0.59 expected goals, 0.06 expected assists, he is a player I really like the look of still. And if he gets that kind of a chance, you would expect him to potentially put one away, especially if Kepa's given out freebies again. Beto for a one-week punt is amazing. But you need to be wildcarding on moving him on in game week 30 because Liverpool and Arsenal does not scream points to me. This week at home, though, against West Ham, this could be his final hurrah for anyone that's got him in their teams. Strand Larsen, again, I thought he should have done more last week, but the fixtures are there. The fixtures are there, and if you're attacking the fixtures, yes, Montesi, or Monetesi, or however you say his name, was unlucky not to feature in the midfield buys, but he is also a great buy, provided he's fit. But Strand Larsen, you would think, is a guaranteed nailed-on starter. Highly likely he could even be on penalties, who even knows. And that run of fixtures, Southampton away, West Ham at home, Ipswich away, just screams points. So for me, he comes in at number 5, but it is kind of a distant number 5. I think the first 3 or 4 are just so much better. And then João Pedro, 5.5. He has to be talked about. No Man City is not a green fixture. No idea why that's on there. I got a little bit carried away, I think. That is meant to be a red fixture, and then the other 2 are grey. I knew I'd done something wrong on this slide. It just didn't look like it was completely correct. But he does play Man City. It's not a green fixture. Maybe I'm foreseeing the future and João Pedro is actually going to score a double and it was a green fixture for him. We won't know until after this weekend. But I do again apologise for that one. Cunha, still suspended, needs to be gone. See you later. Gakpo, absolute troll, plays for Liverpool. What else is there you need to know before you tick that off and say, see you later? Mateta, unfortunately, nobody has team value wrapped up in him, so he is an easy sell this particular week. Easy to move out, bring him back when he's fit, which potentially might be for game week 30 in that Southampton game. Watkins, ditto, he needs to go. You can bring him back afterwards, but yeah, most people would have a combination of Watkins, Isak, Mateta, and potentially 2 of them. Well, you need to sell at least one of them. I've got Isak staying at this point because most people will probably have the most value tied up in him, and that therefore means that he's the player that you should probably keep and is now something that I'm potentially thinking of keeping. In terms of Raul Jimenez, yes, it's a nice fixture against Tottenham, but after that, it's just horrible. So for me, if you're selling a forward and you've got the luxury of boatloads of transfers, he's an easy sell for me this week as well, regardless of the fact that he plays Tottenham. So on to my transfer plans for this week, and I've got 4 of them. So the first one is Alisson Becker or Fabianski, because obviously I've got no goalkeeper that's playing this week, going to Sells or Jose Sarr. And this is very dependent on what I do with my other transfers, because if I go for Morgan Gibbs-White, I can't have Sells because I've already got Milinkovic, I've already got Wood, I can only have 3 of them, so then it'll be Jose Sarr. If I don't go for Morgan Gibbs-White, I could go for Sells, but the fact that Sells has already risen by 0.1 is kind of annoying. I really wanted to do that before that happened, and it came out of nowhere. It wasn't forecast to rise when he actually rose that day. It said it was going to be later in the week. In terms of the midfield, yes, Cole Palmer is in the firing line. I love Bruno, I love Mbeumo, I love Salah, and I love Kluivert, which means that Cole Palmer's on the chopping block because of the fact that it's very related to what happens in the next move. Savinho and Gibbs-White, as I said, 3 and 4 in terms of my midfielders to buy. They're both great assets. I think they'll be great, and I can't really make up my mind between them, which is why I haven't actually made a transfer yet. And I'm also hoping to see the Europa League games tonight and the Chelsea game before I make my complete mind up on what I want to do there. And then that means that I'm looking at a Wissa or Isak to Haaland. Now, in a world, if I'm to move Wissa to Haaland, it would require 4 transfers and a -8. Now, if I don't do Wissa to Haaland and instead I go for Isak to Haaland, it would only cost me 2 and I wouldn't have to actually take a -4, which is pretty cool. But that would require me to move Cole Palmer potentially to Savinho, then Isak to Haaland in order to facilitate it. And then I'd only have 10 players, no goalkeeper. Maybe I then take a -4 for a goalkeeper as well. But that is something, it is going through my mind. maybe he's about to peak. I remember last season, I was a couple of weeks late getting to the Haaland party at the tail end of the season and missed out on a boatload of points. And then the other transfer that I might just do anyway to help facilitate these moves is Alexander-Arnold to Munoz. Now, I want Munoz next week, and I don't want Trent. Trent, as I said, too much money invested in a defender doesn't feel good in a season where all the lower-priced defenders are just popping off regularly. And yes, he is the top-scoring defender, but he's not the top-scoring by much, and he's not... Like, Munoz is right up there with him, and he costs significantly less. Frees up so much more budget for other moves as well. And if I want to delay my wild card, this is definitely a move that potentially I could make this particular game week. So that brings us to the end of my top transfer tips for Game Week 29, blank Game Week 29. Let me know what you think in the comments. What kind of moves are you thinking of doing? Are you taking a -4? Are you taking a -8? Are you just using free transfers? Let me know your moves in the comments. I'm really intrigued to know whether people are taking hits or not, or what other players you're looking at for this particular game week and when you're potentially going to be wildcarding. Yes, this video's gone on for a lot longer than I anticipated, but there was so much to get through, and I've got so many ideas about some of these players on this list this week, and I think it's important if you're actually making actual transfers to have a plan of what you're doing. And as I said, like my transfer plans at the moment are based on the fact that I will most likely wildcard in 30 or 31, but if I did take a -8 this week, I'm highly likely to not wildcard until 34 or 35. Like that is the key here. It's about knowing what you want to do and planning a few weeks in advance. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you're doing. I'll be back tomorrow for my team selection for blank Game Week 29 and see if I've made up my mind about these transfers. Before you go though, and you've made it all the way here, smash a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. You know you want to. Much love, the D Unit.